Today on the Roadhouse, we're changing the rear brakes of a 2010 Ford F350 diesel. So let's get this thing started. The Roadhouse is sponsored by Speedy's Industrial Coatings in Ozark, Missouri. They do media blasting, powder coating, big or small, they do it all. Tell them the Roadhouse sent you. We'll take a 3/4 socket. You guys might have a different size socket, or if you have wheel locks, you're gonna have to get the wheel lock for it. These are just tires I'm gonna get rid of soon. Tires and wheels I'm gonna get rid of soon. So I didn't have any locks on them. Well, as I was taking my back wheels off, you want to make sure you always check your vehicle for the guy that owned it before you, like Bubba. You know, my wiring is kind of skewy in the inside of the truck. Then I took this off. But then the spacers, which I am going to buy wheels so I don't have to space these things out so far, has the regular lug nuts on the outside, whereas these are supposed to be on the inside. It doesn't matter all so much. No, I was kind of surprised when I saw it when I started taking these wheels off, but dang, I'm almost not surprised anymore. We're doing brakes today. I'll change all that out here in a minute. 16 millimeter right here. Break them loose. Keep track of them. Flat blade screwdriver. Man, there's a lot of dirt in here. I'll blow it all out. I'm just going back and forth between the bottom and the top until I break it loose. Don't let it fall to the ground because you got the brake hose on it. There we go with that. Brake shoes are held on with this little clips. Whew. Nasty. Match the brakes up. So this one went in this way. Wrong brakes, ladies and gentlemen. Not even close to being correct. Not even close. Bubba struck again. All right, I'm back with the right parts, I think. I don't want to do it again. Okay, that's done for that. Now we got to get these pressed all the way to the back, and I'll show you how to do it. Okay, how you're going to do this is you're going to take one of the old brakes, one of the old brake pads, and put it in here. Then bring in a C-clamp, which definitely needs to be bigger. Put this up here and put the bottom on the bottom of the caliper itself and squeeze it down. Now, if this was not, if these were all the way up here, or if they stayed down in the caliper, then you would probably have a bad caliper itself. So you might want to look at that. Once you get it all the way down, it'll stay down. That side is done. So now I need to go over here to this other side and get it down just like a 1/16 of an inch further down. Would I have to? I don't know. I'm going to. All right, it's done. Take out the old brake pad. Letting you know that this is the best stuff you can use. This, what happened to mine, the reason why I had to get a new brake caliper bracket was that mine froze. If you do not put grease in these or re-grease them, they will freeze. Now, I bought this truck like 2 months ago and it was frozen. I couldn't get the brake caliper bracket back, I couldn't get it back onto the truck because the dang thing was frozen. Now I could have put the used brakes back on, but I was having used brakes back on that thing. I'm going to go ahead and grease this thing here where it's a little bit easier, and I'll grease it again before I put the bolts back in it. Putting the best stuff back in there. This wasn't cheap. This Permatex, this was about 20 bucks, $19.99 I think. But it's supposed to be the best stuff you can buy, and you'll never have another issue with it from what I'm told. We'll take this brake apart in about a year or two, and we'll take a look at it and see how well it did. Make sure you always put your brake caliper on something so this isn't all stressed out. I also took out a bracket. That way I could bring it down to where I could put it lower. Tighten those up and be ready for the rest of it when it gets here this afternoon from O'Reilly's. Not sponsored by O'Reilly's or anything. Wish it was. It's 13/16. You want to put it real snug, but you know, don't use a pry bar or anything. I also got a new hardware kit. The reason why is because one of these froze inside the bracket. Don't let it happen to you. Parts kit was from BrakeBest O'Reilly's 14167. Okay, I got the hardware kit from BrakeBest or at O'Reilly's. Here's the part number H5821Q. Took a little bit to get. The thing was like 60-70 miles away, so it took an afternoon to get it. But it comes with all your spring clip type things and your rubbers. Well, it's raining out, so there's a little bit of a delay in getting the brakes done. I got this Permatex stuff on here. It's purple. You can definitely tell it's on there. That's for sure. Kind of like that. The others, you know, axle grease and stuff I've used before, it's just kind of, maybe it's there, maybe it's not, maybe I got it all, maybe I didn't. This one, you can tell. Okay, now that it's been 24 hours on the rear passenger side brakes, I got to tell you, it was a pain in the butt. I had a bolt frozen in the caliper bracket, which ended up, I tried to get it unseized, and then you know what? I just had it replaced. I went and got a new one. I soaked it all night in PB Blaster and all sorts of stuff, and it did not do anything whatsoever at all. Now we're doing the driver's side rear, and it is kind of a pain as well. Couldn't use a regular screwdriver. Usually use a flat blade screwdriver on this. This, try to work it back and forth a little bit with that spray I just sprayed in there. To get it to break loose. Now you don't want to get in here because this is your boot. It's your brake caliper boots. You don't want to mess with that. But you may, if you can pry back the brake calipers themselves, because this one is really... There we go. It just needed a little bit of spray. There we go. What I did was I stuck the crowbar in here and pushed back this brake. Now look at this. That is my brake issue right there. Let me show you. You see? I bet you the brakes on that side look terrible. Well, looks like I'll be replacing that. Actually, it didn't look too bad on that side. Once again, I'm going to get all the metal parts that touch metal. I'll put a little coat of this Permatex on there. And then right before I put the caliper on, I'll stay outside of this. All right, now we got to clean these. I can throw the boots away now that I got new ones. I bought it in a little parts kit. I think it was like $12.99 or something for new boots and all the new springs that go with it. I'm going to go ahead and hit this little ridge right here with the wire brush, or my wire wheel. Get all that crap out of there. Some old boots. I had to buy a whole new parts kit for the other side. So I got brand new stuff on the other side. Which the only thing I have against that is it always gives me different size bolts. So the next time I go to change my brakes, I have to come out with a 13/16 on one side and I think a 16mm on the other side. I tell you. The reason why I am hitting it with a wire wheel is because there's a lot of stuff in there that it's very hard for me to get out. So it's a lot easier just to use the wire wheel. But you can get it out, with an old toothbrush or something. That might do just as well as a wire brush. Okay, used the wire wheel, cleaned them all up. Took about 2 minutes to do both of these. Everything's really good. Now I'm going to Permatex these things, put a good coat on all of it, and put it back together. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and use the blue Loctite on these bolts that attach the caliper to the caliper bracket. I got to say something great about O'Reilly's. They are now remanufacturing Ford original parts. So you're not getting something that is, pot metal from somewhere else. So that is something good, especially if you want to keep your parts. All the part numbers were basically the same over here. So I was really impressed with this thing so far. Let's get it in. Okay, now we can start putting it back together. Brand new clips, everything's brand new. I said I like to make sure that I got a coat on every metal that touches metal. The ones I took off of here were all sorts of rusted on the outside. See, all sorts of rusted. All right. Brand new. Screw. New screw. New bushings. One brass in front, one behind. This new one is 9/16. Permatext bolts. Went ahead and put the blue thread lock in the new bolts. I don't know what size bolt this is now. (11/16). You have different bolts. Everywhere. Now I'm going to go to the front and make sure my reservoir is full. Now what I did was I made sure my reservoir in the front was full, and I opened up this 10mm bleeder. And what I'm waiting on here is for that stuff, the fluid, to start popping out. See? There were some bubbles that popped out. I'm going to let it bleed here for a little bit. It already filled up the reservoir in here, and now it's coming out here. I'm going to go check the front again to make sure that I've got enough fluid. I'm going to let this gravity bleed here for a little while. Maybe 4 or 5 minutes. Okay, I've let it gravity bleed for a while. I'm going to go ahead and seal it up. Don't get crazy on these things. Clean it up. What I meant was don't get crazy tightening down this bleeder. I don't know how many of these things I've seen, especially cars that you buy from, Bubba, that's already messed with it. All right, there you go. That's how you change the brakes and caliper bracket on the other side of the truck on a 2010 Ford Super Duty F350. Okay, how you set your brakes. You're going to be driving really slow and then slam on the brakes. Do it again. Do it again. Gotta set them brakes in the back. So wow, then brakes stopped that time. All right, should be set. Now what I usually do is I go out on concrete and do the same thing. We go from changing the brakes for 35 bucks to spending like $300. If you've taken good care of your vehicle and you have not bought it from somebody that hasn't, then you should be fine. $35 for the brakes. I always buy the mid-grade brakes. I don't buy the full ceramic brakes because they eat through my rotors really bad. The mid brakes are the best that I've used, and I never would even touch the cheap ones. A little bit of a tip there for you. Thank you for watching, liking, subscribing. Have you had this type of an issue? Let me know down in the comments. And as always, if you ride her hard, don't put her away wet. Like this truck, it was put away wet because that frozen lower caliper bracket bolt, it was frozen in there solid. It was put away wet. It had been left in water at some point. Don't treat your vehicles like this. Thank you.